Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless coming at you today with another video. Now in today's video we are going to look at some night vision binoculars from the company Hojocojo. Now I have been following Hojocojo products on my Outer Limitless 2 channel, but today here on my primary channel, this pair of binoculars here, very small. If there's one genre of product that comes to me absolutely the most for review these days, it's infrared and night vision binoculars, monoculars, different sort of scopes, things in that particular genre. And this one here, this is absolutely the smallest to date. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at this in detail. I'm going to compare it against some other units that we've looked at in the past so you can see how small and portable this truly is. Then I'm going to get it into some practical field use examples so you can see the overall footage. But with that said, I have a whole bunch to do and a whole bunch to share with you. And if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about what I'm about to get into, do me a favor, stay tuned. Now before we get too far, I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Hojocojo who did provide this for review. And so now, as we get into the Hojocojo Mini Digital Binoculars, these here are very cool, a nice compact unit in this cool camouflage color. For the most part, I do like these. There will be some considerations worth taking into account. So first and foremost, as you see, getting it out of the box here, very small. This is a nice compact unit, literally fits in the palm of your hand. Now that is one thing that you're going to have to consider as you look at this versus the other units, versus other brands that may have a larger unit size, slightly larger components, and larger sensors overall. But you do get that trade-off in regards to having a very compact and portable unit. So here, getting this ready for some use, first and foremost, Hojocojo stating that this is a military-grade optic system. I do need to kind of question that just a little bit, but again, we'll get into that in a little more detail. You can see this does have an integrated battery built right into it, and it is USB Type-C rechargeable. The other thing that's nice is this does have a tripod mount, so if you do want to mount this to a monopod or a tripod or something like that, you definitely do have that capability. And as I mentioned, this is USB Type-C rechargeable, which works out very well for my needs. And it does come with a micro SD card to store your images. Now, very simple to turn this on. The overall menus, the overall buttons, and the overall programming, very simple. It is very intuitive and nothing of any sort of confusion. So you can see here as we go through the different modes, you do have the ability to go through everything and set it to your liking. For this demonstration, I set everything to the highest possible pixel count and resolution. Now as we move forward, you also have different sensitivity levels for the IR sensor, keeping in mind, of course, this is a nighttime and infrared capable binocular. Getting all my settings ready to go, setting the date and all the good stuff that comes with this, and getting this ready for some quality field use. Now this does have an auto off feature, which for me I really don't want. For the most part, I'll be in charge of my battery management and making sure I turn off the unit when I'm ready. But again, here you can see getting things ready. Well, at this point, this is pretty much ready for some field use. Now, being an infrared binocular, this does have different infrared levels. So not just the sensitivity, but your different levels that you can set this to, leveraging your controls. And then on top of this, this does not have optical zoom, but it does have digital zoom. So in other words, interpolating with the pixels for your zoom, you do have digital zoom. So overall, a very nice little unit, some manual focus. The infrared, definitely at this point, ready for some outdoor field use. And so now just briefly comparing the Hojocojo Mini binoculars here versus the Owler one, which we took a look at in the past. So here are the Wild Garter, Owler 1. These are fantastic. I greatly enjoy these, but some substantial differences. First and foremost, as you take a look at these, I mean, look how large this unit is comparatively. I mean, very, very capable. The Wild Garter is really the most capable unit I have had to date by a long shot, but comparing it here against the very small night vision binoculars from Hojocojo, these are just super lightweight, super portable, just fitting in the palm of my hands. So these can go in a pocket with ease. You just throw these in a cargo pocket, in a backpack, no problem. This is actually extremely portable. So for the given size, the question is, what about the capability? So at this point, now that you see how small these are, let's get these out for some field use. And so now as we get into the field use demonstration, the first thing you're going to notice, I covered this in a number of different lighting scenarios. So this here, the sun's going down, but it is certainly not dark at this point. Now, one thing that I do want to point out, this is considered to be a 1080 resolution. Now, my particular video is rendered in 1080, and you'll notice that the pixel height from the bottom of the screen to the top of the screen, this does fill it entirely. So that is a 1080 picture, but most HD pictures are 1920 pixels wide. This is not that wide. So you'll notice it's a little bit more square than it is a wide rectangle. So you do get a 1080 feed, but it is a little bit misleading if you were to look at it in terms of your typical TV shape and size. But here, as we get into it, looking at the overall quality of the picture, keep in mind that in my opinion, where this is a very compact and portable unit, I will typically want to hand hold this. I don't want to be tethered to a monopod or a tripod or something like that. So for the most part, I do feel like I would want to hand hold this. So you're getting an actual example of what this looks like and how I would use it. I could have, for the demonstration, personally gone with the tripod, and it probably would have looked a little bit more clear. It wouldn't have been quite as choppy or jumpy, but at the same time, it wouldn't be realistic to my personal use needs. So as I mentioned, all my footage here being handheld. But as we get into this in a little more detail, getting a general sense for the overall capability, I'm looking far off into the distance across a lake, and if there were people over there, I'd probably be able to identify them. Generally speaking, with the digital zoom, not too bad in terms of the quality, but here you can see, looking at my kids going off into the distance, my son with his cousin going off in this little paddle boat, heading off fishing. Well, now you're going to start to see a little bit of the capability. Generally speaking, pretty good. Does this get you a lot more than what you can really see with your naked eye? Hard to say entirely. I mean, not really. But at the same time, you do have the ability to record, which is nice. So here you can see, looking at my other son on the dock. Now, one thing that I have noted, you can see it is a little bit washed out. His face looks washed out. The definition, not so great. And as I zoom in here with the digital zoom, some, I'd say, like artifacts and a little bit of sort of noise on the edges. So the contrast is not great, but at the same time, it at least gets you a basic picture. I do wish there was a way to kind of fine tune this. I might find with a little more experimentation, there is some things that I could do to improve the picture. But again, as you look at it here, a little bit washed out, not great, but it at least gives you something to use. So generally speaking, how do I feel about the picture? It's okay, not spectacular. And as you look here, I mean, it's a little bit washed out, but not too much you could do about it. Now, getting into a little more detail, looking off into the distance. Again here, there's my son with his cousin out there doing the fishing. Hopefully they'll catch something. I guess we'll see how that goes. But at the same time, with the digital zoom, a little bit grainy, a little bit pixelated. But the nice thing for me is, handheld, it's not too bad. I mean, I find it's not incredibly choppy. It's doing an okay job. I'm doing my best to kind of anchor my elbows and keep the picture a little bit steady. Not too bad. And as I back off here, this is the 0 time zoom, so you can see what the actual native picture looks like without digital interpolation. Here again, taking a look at it, my daughter heading off again with her cousin, heading off in the paddle boat.
Boats out there.
Pretty
so
cool.
just,
And you can see at this point the sun's starting to go down, and just testing the overall sensor quality. Well, even in a little bit of low light conditions here, not too bad. So still retaining a decent amount of overall clarity, overall detail in the picture, and at least enough to see what's going on, zoom in, and kind of get some of the details. With the manual zoom, you do need to be a little bit careful. That's one thing to consider. There is no like auto zoom or anything like that on this unit. So again, fully manual zoom, and you can do it. You just need to take your time, focus a little bit on your subject, and make sure you're bringing it into clarity. So again, pretty good overall. Now, as the sun started to go down, I had the opportunity to film a beautiful moonrise. This is something where if I had the tripod, it really would have come into play and really helped to enhance this overall experience. But generally speaking here, you can see with the digital zoom, zooming right in on the moon as it comes up through the trees. If you keep this in the same spot long enough, you literally can watch the moon moving. That's how fast the Earth is spinning. That's how fast it looks like the moon is rising. Really, really cool. A little bit of definition in the trees, a little bit of definition in the clouds. And the only other thing is with most of these IR units, the capabilities of the sensor is just a little bit limited. You don't get a ton of detail in things that are super bright. And you can notice here, as we take a look at the moon, not a lot of detail, but generally speaking, a beautiful glow. You can definitely see the detail in the trees, the detail in the sky. And as I watched this again, looking closely, you can see the moon actually moving. Really, really cool. So the Hojocojo binoculars in the sort of standard light, and now getting into the low light, we're really starting to test the overall capability. Now, I am fairly happy with it overall. I think as we move on, you'll see where it starts to get a little bit limited, but at the same time doing what it's supposed to do. Here, looking off into the distance, zooming all the way across the lake. Again, that digital zoom, trying to get everything into focus. It is a little bit grainy, and you can see as I switch between the modes from your standard sort of daytime sensor to now the infrared. Now, does this need the infrared right away? Not necessarily, but you can see that it actually does help a little bit with the picture. If there were people over there, you would definitely be able to see. Now, I'm clicking between the different infrared intensities. Because of the distance away, there's literally no change in the overall picture quality or brightness. So you can see you pretty much at distance do get limited, but this does enough to see all the way across and help to define the picture. Now, again, this is going to matter more and more the darker and darker it gets. So at this point, it's really starting to get dark. Everybody's wrapping up their fishing time. We're getting everything put away. And you could really probably get away with a flashlight at this point. Never mind the fact that with the infrared, it's actually doing a pretty good job to illustrate what's going on here. So with the naked eye, I could kind of see what was going on, but the fact that I can zoom in on the action, and yeah, granted, it's just simply black and white, but you can clearly see exactly what's going on here. So if you were using this for surveillance, if you were using this for hunting, if you were using this to obtain information that you otherwise wouldn't have the ability to obtain with the naked eye, this definitely does the trick. And in a nice little compact unit, pretty cool. And keep in mind, at this point, it's literally pitch black. I mean, not 100%, but the boat that you see here, you cannot see with the naked eye. The only reason why I knew it was there was because of the light, and with the Hojocojo binoculars, you can definitely see it. And even furthermore, just playing around, I was on a family vacation, sitting on the deck, and trying to get an understanding, again, of the overall capability in a very dark scenario. So again, granted, there are some lights, but at the same time, fully relying on the infrared capabilities here to illuminate. Now, you'll notice things like license plates are going to beam right back at you. Things like taillights and whatnot are going to beam right back at you. So there is a little bit to be said about what the infrared does in terms of your overall picture. But as we zoom into different areas and take a look at some of the different subject matter, you'll notice that I do have the ability to at least identify maybe make and model of a vehicle, what type of car it is, and really make some assumptions on color. You can start to see different areas where people may be traversing. Maybe you can see what their activities are. And if it was a security situation, this would really come into play with your ability to track the subject. You can see here different individuals making it through different areas. And again, for some basic information, you could probably draw some conclusions and positively identify individuals. Who they are, body shape and size, male or female, height. There are a number of different things that you could draw some significant conclusions with this. So from a practical standpoint, actually very good. The Hojocojo mini binoculars, this Camo edition, night vision, really, really cool. So in the video realm, I would say very successful and a tool worth noting. Now, what about photos? Well, you can see here again, reasonable detail overall. It's going to be a little bit grainy. It's going to be a little bit limited, but showing you the full pixel range and the overall quality in some of these images. Not the best, but definitely giving you some examples. So to the people at Hojocojo, nicely done. And so, all right, guys, there you have it. A look at the Hojocojo binoculars. These here, again, very, very small, extremely, extremely small, lightweight, compact, and easy to bring around with you. Now, all things considered, what are my thoughts? I mean, generally speaking, kind of neat. The idea being that for the low light capability and even into the dark, definitely gives you the ability to see some things. Now, with that said, on the daytime, basically what I could see through with these, I could see in almost the exact same detail with the naked eye. Unlike some of the other units that I've seen that have good, high-powered, not only digital, but optical zoom, these are definitely less powered, much more simple, and probably not as fully featured as the other units. And of course, that's going to come into play with the overall optics quality. So the ability to zoom in, okay. In the daytime, is it really useful? To me, not so much, with the caveat being you do have the ability to record. The fact that you can record onto these, I definitely like. The fact that you can record not only the video, but the sound, that works out. So depending on what you're trying to do, maybe you're trying to capture a little bit of footage of whatever, wildlife or different events or people who are sort of doing different things or whatever you're trying to do, these do come into play. Now, from a portability standpoint, amongst the best that I've had so far. Again, comparing these against some of the bigger units, extremely, extremely portable. So where does it really leave me? I mean, I am getting more and more excited about this technology all the time. The fact that at this point, you have companies that are producing not only super high quality larger units, but now these smaller and smaller units. I mean, this is really the step it requires to get to the point where someday these are going to have full digital and optical zoom. Once these have optical zoom, it's going to be fantastic. The sensors getting better and better, the low light capabilities getting better and better, and that infrared beam being able to beam out further and further. So getting there, I am definitely, I'm mixed because I like these, but they're not quite there overall for me. Does it give you some advantages? Sure. In the daytime, can you record? Yes. Can you see some things at nighttime? Definitely. But does it really fit what I hope these will be long term? No. I think the technology still needs to get there, but they are definitely cool and trending in the right direction. And so I would like to say thank you very much to the people at Hojocojo who did provide these for review. And for the rest of you, if you like this content, do me a favor, take a look at my Outer Limitless 2 channel, which is more on the tactical and firearm side of things. At this point, that channel is growing quickly. I have a ton of videos up there, so if you like what you see here on Outer Limitless, do me a favor and check me out on Outer Limitless 2. So alright guys, thanks for stopping by. I hope you like what you saw. I hope you found it a little bit informative. If you like what you saw, please like, share, and subscribe. And as always, thanks for stopping by. Take care now. I'll see you soon.